Have you ever thought about software engineering as a profession? In the recent years, more and more people are answering yes to this question. There are more graduates of computer science programs. There are numerous boot camps offered everywhere. There are numerous places promising you a big amount of money once you're done studying. A lot of people outside of the field will tell you that this is a very easy job, and there are a lot of misconceptions out there. You're getting paid a lot of money, way more than the average, and it's pretty easy to do because all you're doing is sitting, staring at the computer, and maybe playing video games. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna go over a few reasons why you might consider not becoming a software engineer. Some of them are very well known in the field, but not outside of it, and some are just my personal opinion. In the end of this video, I want you to make a more informed decision about whether this is a career path for you. And if you're already a software engineer and you notice that I missed something very important, let us know in the comments below. The first thing is very obvious to everybody who works in IT already, and this is the mental load. The burnout is extremely common. I've heard a conference talk a while ago where the speaker mentioned that if you've been working in software engineering for more than 5 years, you probably have a mental disorder. And I have to say, it is not that far from reality. The mental load that you're getting during the workday is not going to disappear after the work is done. There is no kill switch. Some people are very good at turning off that work switch, but for the majority of us, this is a constant struggle. Most of the times we deal with switching context very often. I already have a video on the channel about the mental load that the context switching is bringing, so you can check it out to know how to minimize it, but overall it is still a big problem. So if you are a person who prefers chill, calm, normal life, maybe the mental load aspect will be significant for you. The second thing is the constant learning is a must. In modern world, it's not very common that you've finish studying at university or you finish a course and then you can just use the knowledge without learning more. And this is getting more and more common across different specialties. But in software engineering, if you don't learn new things, you're becoming stale and, well, useless, if you can say it about a person. Of course, there are some fundamental knowledge that you learn once and then you apply it in your job, but the majority of technologies evolve constantly. There are new languages, new frameworks, new versions of frameworks, new libraries, new approaches, new conferences, new ideas, and the flow of it never stops. And while this makes it all exciting, sometimes we're just tired of it. Sometimes I really want to just do 9 to 5, do some tasks, and then move on with my life. And don't get me wrong, some people do that. But if you want to invest in your career and you want to become better or have more money, if that's your thing, the constant learning will be with you all of the time. Those points were not that scary, right? Well, we're moving on to my worst nightmare. People. Don't get me wrong, I love people, but there will be two types of people you're going to be working with, engineers and non-engineers, and this distinction will be ingrained in your brain for years to come, probably. And there are some problems with those groups of people. Software engineers are usually very arrogant. It makes for a great engineer because you have to make decisions. You have to be confident about your decisions and your ability to fix anything that goes wrong. But along with that comes the problem that this is a very new industry. There is no exact science or even some time-proven guidelines like there are in medicine or architecture or the mechanical engineering. Even the very fundamental things that we have like data structure or algorithms can be applied differently to different scenarios. And the decision is always made by a human based on their own human experience. And the combination of those two factors, people needing to be confident to be good and not enough time-proven science behind it, creates a lot of very opinionated people. And a lot of very opinionated people in the same workplace create a lot of arguments. Now, I've been working with very different kind of engineers throughout the years. Some of them are very difficult to work with, but you truly enjoy the things you create together. Some of them are very easy to work with, but you allow some compromises that you probably shouldn't. So there should be a balance. It is very difficult to find a team that you truly enjoy working with. And when you do cherish this, this is golden. But this is the least of our problems because we also have people outside of IT or people who are not engineers working in the same company as you do. And you've probably heard us complaining about them. We call them product owners or product managers or stakeholders or customers, or basically any kind of person that has an input on the decisions about software. As engineers, we cannot do everything ourselves. We still need people who research what users want, what is going on in the industry, and of course the domain experts. We cannot expect them to be good at engineering. We cannot expect them to understand what kind of trade-offs we have to do. And sometimes it leads to a lot of conflicts around some feature that is extremely difficult to do, but seems easy to them, or the other way around. People who are not engineers usually don't understand the effort that goes into the software. Most importantly, they don't fully understand the costs. We can explain the costs of resources or additional people to hire, or the time that it takes to build a project, but it's incredibly difficult to explain the cost of the technical debt or maintenance, or the cost and value of testing. So basically the work of software engineer is constant flow of conversations. So next time when you hear a software engineer complaining about having a lot of meetings, you'll know what it means. A lot of arguments. Next point, deadlines, overtimes, time crunches. You name it, we have it. Like I mentioned before, it's very difficult to estimate the time the project will take. There are books written about the topic. Probably every engineer complained about it once or twice in their lives, probably way more, but it is still a problem. We cannot avoid deadlines because then the project will take all the time it can, and deadlines lead to overtimes. And it is not uncommon in the industry when you have a 40-hour week contract, for example, but nobody tracks your hours. The only thing that's important is the work that you produce. And you might want to check in with the company before you join if that's the case, because it is amazing, it gives you more freedom, but it also means that your overtimes are never paid. And you know what happens when you work too quick? Bugs, and more importantly, incidents. The difference being that the bug is some problem with the expected behavior that the users experience, and an incident would be a huge problem that disrupts the work of multiple users. So, a big bug. This is something you might want to consider before getting into the profession, because you will make mistakes. This is a given. You cannot avoid bugs in the software, partially because it doesn't really depend on what you do. It can also depend a lot on the requirements you're getting, on other people testing and using your software. So it is pretty much a given. And those incidents can lead to financial troubles for the company or even security incidents. And you have to deal with it. You have to accept the fact that you will cause a lot of problems for the company. And this might be very difficult in the beginning. Of course, there are a lot of measures that companies are taking to prevent this. But first of all, if you're going to work for a small company, they cannot always afford to have all of the measures in place. And second, even with all of those measures, incidents happen regularly, even with big companies, even with great engineers. So if you are afraid of making mistakes, think very hard about choosing this path. I think the most scary part about incidents, especially in the beginning of your career, is that you need to react immediately. You need to investigate, you need to ask for help, you need to prepare a fix, you need to verify a fix to not create a bigger incident. You have to learn from it, and all of that while you're feeling inadequate, fearing that you're going to be fired, and just wanting to cry overall. That's a good learning experience. And to piggyback on that, you will never feel good enough. The imposter syndrome is like a requirement for the profession, mostly because the technologies are changing very fast. You cannot know everything, and you'll be surrounded by people whose area of expertise is different from yours. This is the best way to build a dream team, but it will also mean that colleagues will know more than you do. So let me go through the list again. We've got mental load and possible burnout. We have constant learning that you just cannot stop and relax. We have people who are gonna argue with you every day of your life. We have deadlines and overtimes, and we have bugs and incident that you caused, and an imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough. That may not sound appealing at all, and if you're in the profession for the money, then maybe you might consider choosing a different career that is also very profitable. But I think that if you really like what you're doing, then there is a pretty high chance that you will overcome all of this just like we do every day of our lives. If you're still feeling confident about your desire to become a software engineer, then subscribe to my channel, because I'm also working on the new video that's called Why Should You Become a Software Engineer? And hopefully that one will be a bit more positive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.